Good morning to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for Thursday, the 12th of October, 2017. A quick look at climatology for this part of the month and the hurricane season. You notice that the largest concentration of activity is situated in the Western Caribbean, with a pretty good random scattering of development areas and tracks farther out to the east over that time period from 1851 through 2015. Including areas up here in the subtropics where Ophelia is currently located, generally speaking, in this region. And you also see that the eastern Pacific starting to calm down a bit compared to the Atlantic. And some of these tracks here, a lot of them, in fact, over time, ending up into Mexico mainland or the Baja, and still some of them that head out to sea, certainly. But this time of year, development that takes place in the eastern Pacific often ends up making landfall in Mexico. So hurricane season not over yet, especially in a season like this where the Atlantic Basin has rattled off 10 hurricanes in a row, with the 10th one here being Hurricane Ophelia, and the track of this over the next several days up past the Azores Islands and then towards the British Isles, maybe with direct impacts to areas of Ireland as a post-tropical cyclone, meaning basically that it is transitioning from a well-developed tight wind field around a warm core to a more spread out ocean-type storm that we're used to seeing in the mid-latitudes. They kind of drift along here like that. Instead, this is going to come out of the tropics and up into those mid-latitudes where the energy gets spread out over a larger area, and so it's not as concentrated, but these systems can be quite powerful. So you folks here on the northwest portion of the British Isles need to be keeping an eye on this because it's headed your way. Looking at the satellite imagery this morning, the loop, you can see a big upper level low through here with some convective activity on the northwest side, bringing showers and thunderstorms to the Bahamas and intermittently through South Florida. And then we have this one disturbance down here well east of Barbados that isn't mentioned in the tropical weather outlook that I could see. It's something to keep an eye on, especially as it's going to move westward with time and end up in this area over here where development is more likely to occur this time of year. And then we have Ophelia right there, well-developed eye. If we look at the infrared, this tells the story more accurately, even though Ophelia does have a well-developed, what we call central dense overcast. And I'll change the color here so we can see it better. It's got that round shape to it and a well-developed eye, but notice that it's lacking any of these dark colors in here, the dark oranges and reds, no reds at all, and certainly none of those dark grays. And that means that the cloud tops are not extending that high into the atmosphere. So while it's a well-developed Category 1 hurricane, it's convectively not quite as thick or intense, if you will, as we have seen earlier this year with Irma and Harvey and Maria and Jose. Those hurricanes, even Lee, was a little bit stronger in the atmosphere. And this is just scientific stuff here, textbook kind of academic. You know, you look at it, you say, hey, it's a hurricane, well-developed eye. But generally when they are not showing those deep reds, etc., they don't have the mechanism to bring those very strong winds down to the surface as efficiently as when they are deeply convective with more oranges and reds. And maybe Ophelia will eventually do that. We'll have to see. Anyway, this is the GFS. Let's go back to the first frame. Over the next several days, and I want you to keep your eye on this area as Ophelia comes in and goes past the Azores. There it comes. Actually, it came in farther to the right up there. But there it comes swinging around following this frontal boundary and on in towards the British Isles, with, again, direct impacts from that southeast side, and this is several days out, so you know how that can change. It jumps up into the mid-latitude westerly wind flow up here, captured by this trough, and then on it goes towards Ireland and the rest of the British Isles as a whole, with heavy rainfall, gusty winds, spread out over a pretty large area here. It's not as concentrated because it's moving out of the tropics. Like I said, it'll lose those characteristics, but that's going to be a big newsmaker for that area. The possibility of some damage along the coast, the very heavy rain, as I mentioned, and the maybe even hurricane force winds. And looking at the sea surface temperatures, I want to just show you, this is where Ophelia is located now, around this area. And water temperatures in here are warm enough, around 25, 26 Celsius, to sustain development. But as it moves on up here past the Azores and getting close to the British Isles, the water temperatures drop off to, the low 20s Celsius to the upper teens, and that's going to be the case through this region as it passes by. Colder sea surface temperatures, but it won't matter. It's still going to have a large wind field, and again, you folks up here in the northwest corner portion of the British Isles need to be keeping an eye on this, as Ophelia, courtesy of the deep tropics, well, actually I guess the subtropics, but it's headed your way, so be ready for that, all right? And you can track that, of course, in Hurricane Pro and HD, so don't forget. And you can follow information by following Hurricane Pro on Twitter. Okie doke, that's it for me for today. Have a great rest of your Thursday. I'm Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com and for Hurricane Pro and HD. I'll have more coverage on what's happening with Ophelia and its interaction with the British Isles tomorrow.